The world needs to know more about LABOGA amplification. And today, with the help of Aurora DSP, I'm gonna get you learn. Let's do it! Alright guys, hope you're doing great out there today. If this is your first time here at my channel, my name is Kyle and welcome to Belligerent Studios. What I do here is I take all sorts of awesome high gain related guitars and other guitar related equipment. I record it with a simple setup and I give you the unprocessed audio on your end. So if you're into East End or thrash riffs, drop C hardcore riffs, and dudes that for some reason have perpetual swamp ass, you're in the right place. Consider hitting the like button and subscribing on the way out so you don't miss any more of my stuff. Thanks! So I don't know if it's just me or if anybody else has noticed this, but it seems like the great guitar plug amp boom, the great plug-in reckoning is over. For a few years there, it seemed like every other day there was a new company bringing out a new plug-in, and for the most part, it was the same amps over and over again. Now, you guys know me. I typically always think that having more options is a good thing, but that does get to a point where it's like, okay, everybody has their iteration on a 5150, everyone has a dual rectifier, everyone has a plexi or a 2203 or something like that, and they're not really doing much to separate them or set themselves apart other than putting a fancy new graphic on it. And honestly, with all of that, it kind of seems like people started to lose interest in the whole plugin world. Not that people aren't using them anymore, but I just don't really think that people are getting excited about new plugin releases like they were a couple years ago. And honestly, that is one of the things that I've always appreciated about Aurora DSP, because they don't go after the same amplifiers that everybody else does for their plugins. They do stuff that, you know, frankly is a little bit obscure, but that's a great thing because they're giving us options that nobody else is bringing to us. And that is definitely the case today for the LABOGA Diamond Sound Amp Suite. Now, before we get too far into this video, yes, this is a sponsored video. Aurora DSP is paying me to share this plugin here with you guys on the channel. So feel free to take everything that I have to say with a massive grain of salt. You're more than fair to do so, but just know I'm gonna give you my honest thoughts and opinions as I always do, so keep that in mind. So who are LABOGA Amplification? Chances are, if you're in the amp world, even if you're pretty deep into things, you probably don't know who LABOGA is, and if you do know who they are, you probably know of them because of their one amplifier, the LABOGA Mr. Hector. A really cool, a really unique sounding high gain amplifier. It's aggressive, it's punchy. The EQ is just completely different in the way that it reacts to any other amplifier out there, and there's no other amplifier that can really replicate what that amp does. And funny enough, Aurora DSP seems to be the only company that has a fully featured amp suite of that amplifier. But the thing is, the amplifiers that we are taking a look at today are nothing like the Mr. Hector. They are completely different. They are much more vintagely voiced. They are going for a completely different type of sound and feel, because for the most part, LABOGA, a boutique amp builder that is based out of Poland, they kind of seem to focus more on unique modded Marshall style circuits. They're not really modded Marshall circuits. They are very, very much their own thing. I owned one of the Alligator Mark IIs for a while, and I very much hear characteristics of that amplifier in the amps in this plugin. And they're like really bloaty, mid-forward, crunchy amplifiers, which doesn't sound all that appealing for what we do for the thrash and the hardcore stuff. But the thing about the Alligator and the thing about these amplifiers is they are extremely receptive to manipulation. And I am also extremely receptive to manipulation because I have ordered over 15 mail order brides at this point, haven't received a single one. I still talk to all of them though, so I mean, that's something when they want more money. But these amps can be shaped so easily by altering the signal going into the front of the amplifier, and unlike some other plugins where you have to add that stuff in your plug-in chain before you even get to the actual amp sim, this is not the case here at all. We actually have those tools available to us, and you can see how flexible, how malleable this amplifier is. So what we are gonna do today is we are gonna check out a few presets that I made here in this plugin. I think you will come to see how flexible this plugin can be because I have a ton of different sounds in the few presets that I've created. And then my band Human Animal actually recently recorded a Rancid cover, and I have all the stems of that, including the guitar DIs. So I actually went in and dropped this Diamond Sound plugin on both my guitar and Adam's guitar. It's an unmixed track, but I think it'll give you guys a good idea of how the amps in this plugin are going to sit and how they're going to fit in a punk rock style mix. So that'll be fun. So real quick, I'm gonna go back to the intro tone and then we're gonna kind of bounce around in the features a little bit as we check out some of these presets. Dude, that tone, man, I love the way that this DS40 sounds with a couple of pedals in front of it shaping the input. It's a really nice, really like the harmonics, the mids, everything about it is just like really pleasant while still being punky, pumpy, and still having a nice attack on those palm mutes and stuff. So that is the 40 watt amplifier. The other amplifier that we get in this plugin suite is the 100 watt Diamond Sound. And even though they share the Diamond Sound name, they sound very different. So yeah, as you can see, the 100 watt definitely sounds bigger, but it also sounds kind of more bloated. It's got a lot more mids in the lower mid region, which just kind of fills it out. For better or for worse. If that's what you want, great. If you want that thinner, more direct sound like the 40 offers, you've got that too. So moving into the pedal section of this plugin, we've got an overdrive, an octaver, a fuzz, and a 6-band EQ. And as you see, I have the overdrive and the 6-band EQ engaged, and I have them engaged for every single preset on this amp sim because without them, neither of these amplifiers have nearly enough gain to do high gain stuff. That's the 100 watt with no overdrive out front and the gain is cranked. Here's the 40. So yeah, as you can see, neither of these amplifiers I would classify as high gain amps on their own. They need some help. So first thing we're gonna kick on is this overdrive. And this overdrive is interesting because it's not a TS-808, it's not a TS-9, it's not even a TC integrated preamp. It looks to be an Electro Harmonix Soul Food, which is a very different sounding overdrive to any of those. And I have some drive added to this overdrive because when you crank the volume of this particular overdrive, it does not cut the lows at all. In fact, it enhances them because it's pushing the signal so hard. So you really have to pull the volume back on this and pull some drive up in order to get that tightness and in order to add saturation. But it doesn't sound like your typical overdrive at the same time. Even when you do that, it imparts its own character. Sounds really good. Here is the other pedal that we are going to have engaged on every single one of my presets because you really need to shape the EQ of your signal going into the amplifiers to lean them out a little bit and to add some more aggression in order to get the goods out of them. And honestly, this stuff can be said for pretty much any amplifier. You can do these same things on most other amplifiers, but the results aren't always this good. Sometimes certain amplifiers don't play very well with the EQ being manipulated out front, and this amp both of these amps they react so good, and it makes it so much fun to kind of mess around and play with your tones. I said tones! So as far as features that aren't really tone shaping related, the only one that they have on here is a transpose. So I'm gonna give you that real quick. paging Andrew Bana. So yeah, as you can see, the Transpose definitely works. Once you get lower than that second step down and you start going further down, it starts to sound pretty unnatural. You get some artifacts and stuff like that. So keep in mind, this is kind of a cool tool. Maybe for tracking a riff real quick when you don't have, I keep seeing things out of the corner of my eyes. I'm filming this at 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm freaking myself out. But yeah, cool tool. Those two words are impossible to put together. If you need it in a pinch in order to track a riff a couple octaves low, or a couple steps lower, not a couple octaves lower. I'm losing it! But yeah, that's pretty much it as far as non-tone shaping features. Let's go into the cab section because Aurora DSP has a wonderful cab section in their plugins. They give you all these options. Anytime you see a cab section like this where you can move the mics around and drag them back and angle them, that takes a tremendous amount of work in order to be able to create that. So I love to see it. They did a great job. They definitely, in my opinion, chose some speakers that are not your standard fare. Once again, we're getting some stuff that you're probably not going to get from other plugins. What are they? I don't know, because it doesn't say anywhere in the literature. But that's a good thing because that gives us the opportunity to listen with our ears and not with our eyes, which is what we should be doing anyways. So as you can see, we've got 4 cabinets here, and then we've got 4 different microphones for each cabinet. These mics are the same across all 4 cabinets. So yeah, flipping between those 2 cabs, massive difference. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take it all the way over to this side because we have a blend control here. So we're gonna get the SM57 and we're just gonna go real quick through all 4 cabinets. So yeah, 4 very different sounding speakers. I am convinced that one of those, the third one in the white cabinet, is some sort of Eminence because it sounds very much like an Eminence. But yeah, those are going to give you so many tonal shaping possibilities. And the thing that I love is this angle here. I found this plugin a little bit dark to start with when I was messing with it at home. And I found angling one of the microphones and kind of pulling it in towards the dust cap. Kind of really gave that sizzle that I thought it might be missing. So if you need sizzle, that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is this air control up here, which essentially adds some really high-end frequencies, the sizzlies as I like to call them. Probably not super useful in a mix situation, but if you're just jamming by yourself, it does kind of bring the cabs to life a little bit. One thing that I think is a huge value add on this particular plugin is the ability to export an impulse response. So you can create your own impulse responses here within the plugin. And if you find something really cool that you really like, especially because we're using what seems to be speakers that you're not going to find anywhere else really, you can export them and take them with you to a different plugin. You can take them with you to a different device like a Line 6 Helix or something like that. I think that's a value add right there, especially for the price of this $59. I mean, you're getting literally a whole impulse response creation product just in this one tab that you can use with all of your other impulse response related products. I think that's super cool. Let's get into a different preset is the word I was looking for. So that one is very, very MIDI. That's called the Belligerent Mid. It almost sounds like a practice amp. So yeah, if you want a lot of mids, there you go. As you can see here, this is the section with our rack effects. We've got a sonic maximizer and EQ, and then we've got a couple of what look to be compressors and limiters. I don't really mess with that stuff when it comes to guitar tones, but if you do, There you go, you got them. Over here, we've got another EQ where you can really start fine tuning, and as you can see, I wanted to give this particular preset a little bit more low end and also pull out a frequency that was kind of bothering me, and I was able to do both of those things. And obviously you can do so much more with an EQ like this. Really nice to have this built right into the plugin. Again, we don't have to open any external plugins in order to do so. And then here we have our stupid loser idiot, reverb, delay, tremolo, you know, all those effects that you're using when girls don't really like you and you're trying to get their attention. So you get out your Focusrite Scarlett Solo and you start recording this epic 10-minute ballad, and you're thinking that you can record this thing and put it on SoundCloud and send it to the girl you love, and hopefully she'll finally notice you. But she's gonna look at that and she's gonna leave you on red for the rest of your life, and now she's not even gonna look at you in school because she's so weirded out by the fact that, number one, you're recording on a Focusrite Scarlett Solo. I mean, come on, get some money, bro. But yeah, those effects are there if you need them. And for real, that pretty much rounds out the plugin. I'm gonna jump in here. We've also got some presets from some folks here that come with it. As you can see, factory presets. There is a shitload of factory presets on this bad boy. Here is my buddy Scott from Chernobyl Audio. He added in some cool stuff. We've got black metal lead, another type of music for virgins. Black metal. All right, so I'm gonna bop over to the vintage modern preset. We'll play one more riff on this bad boy. And I'm actually gonna turn the transpose on and we're gonna go down a step. So yeah, that was the vintage modern preset. I think it sounds really cool. I've got a few more on here. I am going to send those over to Aurora DSP, so if you guys want to mess around with them, there is a free 14-day trial if you want to check it out. I'm begging somebody just to play my presets. I'm so lonely! All right, guys, so moving over into the Rancid track that I promised you guys. Here is what we have recorded, and I've dropped an instance, boom, on my DI. I've got the 40, and then on Adam's guitar, we've got the Diamond Sound 100. And then, as a little extra treat, we've actually got the Aurora DSP Laney Digbeth bass plugin on this track, and this thing sounds freaking phenomenal. So I'll talk about that in just a second, but let's listen for a couple seconds here real quick. So as you can hear, very, very mid-forward on both tracks. That's the punk rock thing, you know, basically a cranked Marshall with a decent amount of saturation. Human Animal likes to go a little over the top with the saturation sometimes, so that's what we did, baby. Let's check out that Digbeth bass plugin, though, because this thing sounds stupidly good. Talk about another plugin that you're not going to find from anybody else. Like this amplifier, I've never even heard of this Laney amplifier, and I love it. Like, I love the way that this thing sounds. You can kind of get that classic, like, cranked Ampeg thing going on that is so classic for hardcore and punk rock tones. But this one just has more, it's gnarlier, honestly. It's not as clean, unless you want it to be. It can be cleaner, but we can scoop out those mids in just the right way that, in my opinion, is crucial to a solid bass tone for punk rock and hardcore. We've got some cool stuff like different cabinets that we can blend, and then we've got compressors and effects and stuff. There's just a lot that we can do with this bass plugin, and I have the compressor on and it's kind of squashing everything down, and as you guys can see, the bass, no matter what notes are being played, it's very audible without being over the top. So yeah, that is dropped into obviously a very unpolished and unfinished mix, but I feel like the guitars sit basically right where I wanted them to from the standpoint of a good punk rock guitar tone, and then throwing that little Digbeth plug in there because I've been using that on all my bass recordings lately. I think it sounds awesome. It's unique, but it's familiar enough that it works and everything, and it is just a different flavor that I don't feel like anybody else is doing or using, and that kind of goes for these plugins with the LABOGA Diamond sound as well. So a couple different awesome options, very affordable plugins. Right now, the LABOGA Diamond sound is on sale at the introductory price of, I believe, $59, which is crazy cheap for something like this. No idea how long that is gonna last. Go ahead and pick it up if you guys are interested in it. I don't have any sort of affiliate or anything, so I'm not earning off of anything of you guys buying it or anything, but I can't recommend this enough, especially if you're looking for different tones and you're the type of person you don't want something that you're just gonna plug right in and go, because that's how you get tones just always sounding the same no matter what. Something like this gonna push you to tweak things, gonna push you to dial things with your ears instead of your eyes in order to get where it is that you're trying to go, and it's gonna give you a totally unique sound. So super fun, guys. I really liked this plugin, but I wanna hear from you. What did you guys think about this thing? Let me know down below in the comments. Is this a plugin that you could see yourself utilizing, or did you think it sounded like poo-poo doo-doo butt mud? I'll meet you guys down there to talk about it. Thanks again to Aurora DSP for reaching out and sponsoring this video and allowing me to show this here with you guys on the channel. I'm gonna get out of here. If you liked the video, hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Kyle here again. I'm gonna go hang out with those ghosts that are over in the corner. Goodbye.